Italy had always been a place of comfort for me, a place where work met serenity. I had flown there for a short business retreat, a rare moment where I allowed myself to breathe, to enjoy the vineyards, the food, the rare silence in my life. Running a family business alone after my husband's death meant I carried more weight than I ever admitted. So when my phone rang at 2:14 p.m. Italy time, I almost ignored it. It was Sophia, my older daughter. Her voice wasn't just frantic, it was sharp, trembling with a mixture of rage and panic. "Mom, you need to come home. Now." "It's Lena," she stole from the company. A lot, and then she ran. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. The warm afternoon around me, Italian sun clinking dishes, laughing tourists, blurred into nothing. Stole. My Lena, my quiet, gentle, soft-spoken Lena who apologized if she accidentally bumped into furniture. My adopted daughter who still at 19, asked permission to take food from the fridge. I stood up so fast my cappuccino spilled. "Tell me exactly what happened," I demanded, walking away from the tables, heart pounding loud enough to drown Sophia's words. Sophia explained rapidly: an unauthorized transfer, Lena's login used, the money missing, and Lena nowhere to be found. Her voice flickered between outrage and rehearsed disappointment, as if she'd been preparing for this moment. I tried to stay calm, but as she spoke, a cold shiver climbed my spine, a mother's instinct whispering that something wasn't right. I ended the call with the promise that I'd be home on the next flight. My hands shook as I booked the ticket. Not because of the accusation, but because of one thing that wouldn't stop echoing in my mind. Why would Lena run instead of calling me? The flight home felt endless. Every hour was a battle between fear and disbelief. I replayed memories. Lena's shy smile the day I adopted her at 7. The way she slept curled up for months because beds felt too open. And how she blossomed only after years of reassurance. She had always been fragile but never dishonest. When the plane landed, I didn't bother going home first. I drove straight to where I knew Lena might hide if she was scared, a small grocery store on the edge of town, near the old apartments where we used to live before the business grew. It was late, just past midnight, and there, under the flickering yellow streetlight, I saw her old car. My heart tightened painfully. The windows were fogged from breath. The passenger seat was stuffed with blankets and grocery bags. Her shoes were on the dashboard. The car was tilted slightly, as if she had been sleeping and startled awake. I approached slowly and tapped the window. "Lena, sweetheart. It's Mom." The window jerked down halfway, and then I saw her. Her face was pale, thinner than I remembered. Her eyes were red and swollen. But it wasn't her appearance that broke me. It was the fear in her eyes. A fear I hadn't seen since the early days of her adoption. She pulled her blanket tighter around her and immediately began shaking her head. No, please go. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean to drag you into this. Please leave." "Honey, I just want to talk," Sophia said. At the name, she flinched. She actually flinched. Then she pushed the door open and stumbled out, one hand clutching her hoodie. Just don't," she whispered, stepping back. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I didn't steal anything, I swear, but you can't help me. Nobody can." Only then did I notice something else, something that punched the air out of my lungs. Her hoodie stretched awkwardly across her stomach. She was pregnant. My knees nearly buckled. "Lena, sweetheart, why didn't you tell me?" She shook her head violently. "Because I'm scared. Because they said?" Her voice broke completely. "Please don't make me go home." Her sobs echoed under the streetlight. She looked trapped, cornered, desperate. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't a thief. This was a terrified child begging for protection. I reached out, but she stepped back again, trembling. "Oh God, something's really wrong," I whispered to myself. But I didn't know yet that what was wrong was so much darker than I imagined. I didn't force Lena to come home that night. She was trembling too violently, her voice shaking with a fear so deep it echoed long after her words stopped. Instead, I coaxed her gently into letting me drive her to a nearby motel, someplace warm, quiet, and safe. She resisted at first, clutching the car door as if it were a lifeline. But when she finally sat in the passenger seat of my car, she curled into herself like a wounded bird. Not once did she look me in the eyes. inside the motel room. She went straight to the bed, sitting on the very edge with her hands wrapped around her belly. I set down warm food, water, blankets. Anything I thought might comfort her. She didn't touch any of it. Only when the shock faded from her face did I dare sit beside her. "Lena," I whispered. "I'm here. No matter what happened, talk to me." She closed her eyes, and for a moment she looked like the terrified 7-year-old I had first met. The same hunched shoulders, the same way she swallowed her words before speaking. "I didn't steal anything," she finally mumbled, barely audible. "I know," I said instantly. She looked up then, surprised, eyes glistening. You believe me. Always." Something inside her broke at that word. Tears streamed again, silent but heavy. She wiped them with her sleeve, but they kept coming, falling faster when she whispered, "They're going to ruin me. They said they will." My stomach tightened. "Ooh." Lena's breathing hitched. She looked at the door, as if expecting someone to burst in. Sophia and Daniel. Sophia's husband. Just hearing their names sent cold shock through me. But I forced myself to stay calm. "What did they say?" Lena hesitated, then slowly reached into her backpack. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her cracked phone. She opened her recordings and played one clip. Daniel's voice, unmistakable, filled the room. "She's weak. She'll crack. We'll make sure she takes the fall. She's not even blood. She has no claim. Once she's out, everything goes to Sophia." Then Sophia's voicey. "Good. She never should have been part of this family anyway." My entire body went still. For a few seconds, the only sound in the room was Lena's quiet inhaling and exhaling, as if she was counting breaths to keep from collapsing. "Where did you get this?" I whispered. I was going to ask you for help," she said. I heard them talking in the office. But when I went back the next day, the money was gone, and it looked like it was taken under my login. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. And when Sophia cornered me in the parking lot, she said she'd make sure no one ever believed me. She swallowed, voice cracking. She told me adopted kids are easy to get rid of, that I'd lose everything. Then my hands clenched. "She said that to you?" Lena nodded, and I felt the world tilt. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, had become someone I barely recognized. And Daniel, I had suspected his greed before, but never imagined he'd sink to this level. Still, something else gnawed at me. "Lena, you're pregnant. Did you run because of that too?" She froze. Her eyes lowered. She gently placed a palm over her belly. "It's his," she whispered, "not Daniel's. My baby's father is Noah. I had heard his name before. A kind but quiet young man who worked part-time at the warehouse. He always stayed polite, kept his distance, but Lena had always brightened around him in a way I didn't fully understand." But then her voice shook harder. "He's missing?" My pulse raced. "Missing? How?" "We were planning to tell you together," she said through shaking breaths. But a week before everything happened, Daniel found out. He confronted Noah. They argued. And then Noah disappeared. No phone, no messages. Nothing. Her voice dissolved into sobs. I thought they hurt him. And I thought if they could hurt him, they could hurt me. She hugged herself, rocking gently, as if comforting the baby inside her. I felt sick, not because of the scandal, not because of the business, but because my daughter had been hunted, cornered, by people she should have been able to trust. "I won't let them touch you," I said, taking her cold hands in mine. This time she didn't pull away. Her body trembled, but she let me hold her. "You're safe now. I promise you. Whatever they did, I will find out." Lena looked up, eyes hopeful for the first time. "Do you mean it?" "With every breath I have." What I didn't know then was that the lies, the schemes, and the betrayal stretched far deeper than we both imagined. And the truth waiting ahead was going to destroy everything I thought I knew about my own family. Sleep was impossible after that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Daniel's voice from the recording. Cold, calculated, dripping with contempt. Every time I opened them, I saw Lena curled up on the motel bed, one hand protectively resting over her belly, eyes swollen from fear more than tears. I knew one thing with absolute certainty: this wasn't just family drama. It was a setup, and a dangerous one. By morning I had already contacted Elias. a private investigator I trusted. He had worked with my late husband years ago and had a reputation for being discreet, methodical, and ruthless in the face of lies. When Elias arrived at the motel, Lena tensed, pressing herself against the headboard like a cornered animal. I sat beside her, rubbing gentle circles on her back. "He's here to help," I assured. Elias nodded, keeping his voice low and calm. "I'm not here to judge you, Lena. I'm here to find the truth. But I'll need access to your phone, your login, and anything you remember from that day." Lena hesitated, then handed him her cracked phone with trembling fingers. While he examined it, I quietly explained to him everything. Her pregnancy, Noah's disappearance, Sophia's threats, the recording, the alleged theft, all of it. His jaw tightened more with each detail. "Your older daughter and her husband sound like they were preparing this for a long time," he said grimly. "Let me dig into the accounts." He left to begin his investigation. I stayed with Lena. All day she barely spoke. When she did, it was always about Noah. "What if something happened to him?" she whispered. "What if he's hurt because of me?" "He cared for you," I said gently, brushing her hair back from her face. "He wouldn't have left you unless he was forced to." She looked down, biting her lip. "I love him." It was the first time she'd said it out loud. Hours later, Elias returned with a laptop under his arm and a grave expression on his face. "I found something," he said, closing the motel door behind him. He motioned for us to sit. "First, Lena's login was used to move the money. That part is true." Lena winced, shrinking in her seat. "But," Elias continued, "the transfer wasn't done from her device. It came from an IP address registered to Daniel's office." I felt my breath stop. Daniel, the man my late husband had trusted. The man who married my eldest daughter with promises of unity and loyalty. Elias pulled up digital logs. He installed tracking software on Lena's office computer weeks ago. He had access to every password she used. Lena's hand flew to her mouth. "So he planned it?" "Oh yes," Elias said. "And I don't think it was only about the money." He opened another folder. "This is worse. Emails, messages, draft financial statements, and then an inheritance projection." My late husband had left a substantial trust for the children. But portions of the business were tied to an upcoming valuation. If the business's value increased, so would their share. And if Lena was removed from the business, Sophia and Daniel's portion would double. I stared at the screen in cold silence. My older daughter, my own child, she'd plotted to destroy her sister for money. Then Elias spoke again. "I also found Noah." Lena gasped, clutching the pillow. "He's alive," Elias said quickly. "He's been hiding at a friend's apartment. He's terrified," he said. Daniel threatened him. Told him to stay away from Lena or he'd disappear for real. The man believed him. Lena burst into tears, this time from sheer relief. "Can I see him?" she whispered. "You will," I said, squeezing her hand. But Elias wasn't done. "There's more," he said, pulling out printed messages. "These are from Sophia." At first, my eyes couldn't process what I was seeing. Messages mocking Lena, calling her the stray, saying she should have been grateful they let her stay this long, planning how to blame her for the missing money. And then one message that stabbed me straight through the heart. "Mom will choose us. She always does." They didn't just betray Lena. They betrayed me too. My hands shook with fury I hadn't felt since my husband's death. The betrayal was too large, too calculated, too cruel to excuse. I stood slowly, the decision forming in my chest like a fire. "Sophia and Daniel think they're untouchable," I said quietly. "They're wrong. Because now I had the truth, the evidence, the witnesses, and most importantly, I had Lena back. It was time to stop the lies. Time to confront the darkness in my own family. Time for justice." Confrontation day arrived like a storm. Quiet at first, but heavy with the kind of tension that made the air feel sharp on the skin. I had spent 3 nights preparing, meeting with attorneys, reviewing every message, every recording, every transfer receipt Elias uncovered. There would be no shouting match, no emotional meltdown. Not this time. This time I would strike with precision. Sophia and Daniel arrived at my office separately. They were expecting a routine board check-in, unaware that I had already gathered the board members, the financial auditors, and the attorney who handled my late husband's trust. Sophia walked in first, perfectly polished as always, hair sleek, makeup flawless, posture stiff with entitlement. Daniel followed, eyes cold, wearing the same confident smirk he always used when he thought he had already won. "Mom," Sophia said, attempting an affectionate tone. "We heard you were back in town. We really need to talk about Lena." "You will sit," I said calmly, "and listen." Something in my voice made Daniel stiffen. Sophia frowned. Confused but trying to mask it, I placed a thick folder on the table. "This," I said, "is everything?" I clicked the remote, and the recording of their voices began to play. Sophia's face drained instantly. Shock first, then fear, then rage. Daniel shot up from his chair. "You have no right?" "Sit," I repeated sharper. He sat. Every word they had spoken, every whisper about eliminating Lena from the business, every insult, every instruction to frame her, echoed across the room. The board members stared at them in disbelief. Sophia covered her mouth, shaking her head. "Mom, I didn't mean. This is taken out of context." "Don't lie," I said quietly. "Not anymore." Elias stepped forward and played the messages Daniel sent to the bank. The IP logs, the tracking software history, the inheritance calculations. Every piece of evidence was laid bare, merciless and undeniable. Then came the part that shattered whatever remained of my patience. "We never should have let that girl stay. She's not real family." Sophia flinched visibly when those words replayed. When the final clip ended, silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating, condemning. I folded my hands on the table. "I trusted you," I said. "I raised you with love, and this is what you chose to become." Sophia burst into tears. "Mom, I was scared. I thought you were replacing us with her." "Replacing you?" I whispered. "I gave you everything. But instead of being a sister, you became her tormentor. You chose greed over family." Daniel scoffed. "Enough of this dramatic performance. You can't prove anything in court." My attorney slid a stack of documents toward him. "Oh, but we can." Embezzlement, fraud, harassment, threats, interference with employee safety. Enough charges to dismantle everything Daniel thought he controlled. "Effective immediately," I said, turning to the board. "Daniel Lawson is terminated. Security will escort him off the property and revoke all access." Daniel shot up again, but 2 security officers were already moving toward him. His face twisted with hatred. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. "No," I said. "I'm fixing one." He was dragged out shouting. Sophia remained seated, trembling uncontrollably. Tears streaked down her face. "Mom, don't do this. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted to protect what's mine." "Nothing was ever threatened," I said. "Except Lena's safety." Her shoulders crumpled. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. "You abused her. You endangered her. And you almost destroyed our family." She reached toward me, sobbing. "Please, please don't cut me out." "I'm not cutting you out of my heart," I said softly. "But I am cutting you off from power." Her eyes widened. "As of today," I continued, "your financial authority is revoked. Your inheritance will be held in trust until you complete therapy, restitution, and personal reform. You will earn back trust, if you can." Sophia collapsed into her chair, crying harder than I'd ever seen. I walked out without another word. A new beginning. Lena was waiting for me outside the office building, sitting on a bench with one hand over her belly. When she saw me, her eyes filled with relief. "Is it over?" she asked shakily. "It's over," I said, opening my arms. She didn't hesitate this time. She fell against me, sobbing into my shoulder, this time not from fear, but from release. The weeks that followed were slow, healing, and tender. Noah came back into her life, apologizing with every breath for leaving, though we all understood he did it for survival. He stayed by her side as her pregnancy continued, protective in a way that softened even my bruised heart. And when Lena gave birth, a tiny, beautiful girl with dark hair and bright eyes, I held my granddaughter and felt the world settle into place. Later, I rewrote my will. Lena did not replace Sophia, but she earned what Sophia had thrown away. And when I named Lena as the primary heir to my business shares, she burst into tears. "Why?" she whispered. "I don't deserve this." "You do," I said. "Because you survived them, and because you never lost your heart." Sophia attended the baby's arrival, quiet, humbled, remorseful, but still under restriction. I didn't shut her out permanently. I left the door open for redemption, but not without consequences. Justice had been served, and for the first time in years, our home began to feel like a place of healing rather than secrecy. The sweet revenge wasn't the punishment, it was the restoration, the protection, the rebuilding of a future where love, real love, finally had room to grow.